Have you ever felt like you didn't belong anywhere? Like everyone else had a tribe, a place, a purpose except you? There are two things all humans need that help us to feel that sense of connection. That's the feminine, nurturing mother archetype energy and the protective energy of the father that provides. Without this, we don't have the foundation to connect. Connection is about more than having people around, a shared culture, and a sheltered place. Connection is that feeling that comes from the heart. It's a sense of belonging. That is really what the story of Mufasa is all about. So if you loved Lion King and who didn't, it grossed almost $1 billion worldwide and reset the bar for the Hollywood blockbuster. I mean, the music was infectious, the story was amazing, and it left us feeling full and warm inside. So if you love The Lion King, you might want to know whose Simba's parents were, that they created such an adorable, resourceful cub who became the Lion King. Mufasa is a story of that foundation. Just like we have generational trauma, we also have generational gifts. In Mufasa, we get to see both. We'll also see how sometimes our greatest pain leads us to our greatest accomplishments. So Mufasa was an ordinary lion cub. He wasn't anything special. He's just a dude, no royal lineage, nothing that made him stand out. His family was living in a place of extreme drought, and they decided to head towards Malele, a promised land of rain, food, harmony, and that was out towards the horizon to escape this threat of death. So when a flash flood hit and the family was caught up in it, Mufasa's mom got to safety and his dad went into the raging waters to save him. In the process, Mufasa's dad was killed and Mufasa was washed down the river far, far away. In this moment, Mufasa effectively became orphaned. And one thing I don't think people really think about is that we are animals too. Just like animals can't survive without a community, neither can we. Community not only gives us safety and helps us to have resources, it gives us a sense of identity. So the water calms down and the threat of drowning goes away. But as Mufasa is drifting in the water and holding onto a log, someone calls out to him and alerts him that an alligator is after him. Taka, another lion cub, saves him from the alligator and they both decide to be brothers. Unfortunately, Taka's father is the king of the land and he has a no strays rule. Taka's mother asks if anything could be done to bend the rules, and Obasi proposes a race. The two cubs run to the tree and back, and if Mufasa wins, he can stay, and if he doesn't, he dies. Now let's take a break from the story for a moment to point out that we've already had some pretty traumatic things happen to Mufasa. He lost his parents, his life was threatened by a flood, he was almost eaten by an alligator, and how he faces death again if he loses this race. Even if the lions don't put him to death, banishing him is effectively a death sentence anyway because he can't survive out here alone. So all this happens and Mufasa is still just a cub. Mufasa has faced lots of traumatizing events, but the only event that we see that impacts him is the flood. The rest of those events drive him, but they don't hold him back. And I want to be sure that you don't miss this because we all have horrible things happen in our lives that can either define us as victims or be the making of us. Every time we conquer a challenge and come out the other side as the victor or at least a survivor, we grow. We become worthy, not because of the accomplishment, but because we prove our worth to ourselves. We did that thing. We know how hard it is. And when the meaning we derive from it is that we have courage, we can do hard things, and we show up for life, we can be ready for anything. If things are given to us, someone makes it easy for us to achieve things, or we get through and downplay our accomplishments, we don't gain courage and strength, and we end up feeling unworthy and disconnected. So we need challenges and we need to do hard things because life is hard. We have to be up to the task or life's going to eat us up. So they race. Obasi, Taka's dad, tells him that he can't lose. Taka is his heir. He is the future. And this race symbolizes the promise of his future leadership. So this is a big moment. Now Mufasa's fast, but he's also afraid of water, so he goes a long way around, which slows him down. Taka's winning. It's close, but Taka lets Mufasa win. Why? Why, with all that pressure, does he let Mufasa win? Obviously, he doesn't want Mufasa to die, but it's more than that. Taka's a coward. Being the future leader isn't just an honor, it's a responsibility, and Taka is a coward. We see this later in the movie over and over, but let's back up and see what Taka has shown us of himself so far, because even though we are barely into the story, it's already rich in character for Taka and Mufasa. When Taka sees Mufasa in the river, he acts with courage and empathy. He sees someone who is alone and in danger, and he reaches out to save him. This simple act of helping creates a trauma bond between the two of them that bonds them in brotherhood while also creating an imbalance of power. So Mufasa learns humility and gratitude, and Taka is a step above. Now we meet his dad. He's the king of the tribe, and he's responsible for their survival. He sees the stray as a threat to their resources, so dad is protecting their resources by excluding others who don't belong from sharing them. Mom, Eshe, encourages compassion. Mufasa bargains by offering to prove himself, so he's saying, I can be of service to you. Taka's already saved Mufasa once, and when he does it again, his generosity and compassion tips the power again in Taka's favor. But this also becomes a root for Taka's resentment because Taka doesn't get any recognition, gratitude, or power from it. Obasi doesn't value compassion, only power, so he sees Taka's behavior as a weakness. Mufasa isn't trying to withhold it. He's just a cub and doesn't understand his sacrifice because he's not the heir. He's not royalty and doesn't know what any of that means. Obasi said to Taka, you must win, but Taka defies him and chooses his friendship with Mufasa over his destiny. This is a huge moment because in doing that, he chooses his own desires over his father's expectations. In doing that, he blows his chance at proving himself to his dad and the pride, and this leads to shame that he carries from then on. When Obasi allows Mufasa to stay, he lowers his status by making him stay with the lionesses, but he inadvertently gives him a huge advantage because the males lie around all day while the females do the hunting and have intuition. So Mufasa learns those things and it makes him more whole. And this is where he learns gratitude, humility, discipline, as well as things like how to listen to nature and hone his sense of smell. As a result of this, Mufasa earns his sense of belonging and his skills. Taka, on the other hand, loses his sense of security because what he takes away from all this is that belonging is conditional. He has to perform well over and over to have the love and acceptance of his father. Whether we perform poorly on purpose or unintentionally, it's always going to breed shame, resentment, and damage relationships. But this builds, doesn't it? Mufasa and Neshe are out hunting. Taka is watching them from the cover of the grass because he's not supposed to be there when these two big white lions attack. Eshe is wounded and Mufasa saves her by killing one of the white lions. Rather than joining the fight, Taka flees. This strengthens the bond between Mufasa and Eshe and increases Taka's jealousy. So we start to see conflict building between Mufasa and Taka that Mufasa isn't even aware of. Now, the white lions are physically larger than normal lions, and their pride is large. They are outsiders who don't live by the same rules as Obasi's lions. They are like gang members. These are the disenfranchised who are excluded from mainstream society. They're driven by their shared pain of trauma, and they sustain power by maintaining opposition and their identity as the harmed party. They want destruction and don't want to stop until they have total domination because they believe it's the only way to feel safe. This video is about the importance of community, and the white lions are a community. Their community is formed by the common pain. And when this is the root that binds you, nothing good can come from that. It's a dog-eat-dog system where there's never any safety. And now they're after Obasi's pride. Obasi doesn't believe they can survive the attack by the white lions, so he sends his heir, Taka, away with Mufasa to accompany him to save the royal bloodline. He makes Mufasa pledge to serve Taka, which he does, and Eshe tells Mufasa to head towards Milele. Now, we assume Taka is an orphan too, but the danger isn't over. The white lions are pursuing Mufasa and Taka because the white lion that Mufasa killed was the king of the white lions' son, and he wants revenge. So the road to Malele is like a dark night of the soul. It's long and treacherous. There's famine, drought, predators, deep caverns, hostile terrain with ice and snow. All that urges them forward, and there's the promise of forever, which is what Malele means in Swahili. It's a place of peace, abundance, and happiness. They don't have a choice. It was change or die. So most of us face this type of journey at one point in our lives, if not several times. This challenge will make or break us. It all depends on how we move through it. And if we can use our values and shared purpose as our true north, we'll get through together. And if not, we'll fracture. The young lions are tested when Sarabi appears. Sarabi's pride was also attacked by the white lions, and she is also presumably a homeless orphan looking for safety. The white lions appear as they're trying to escape, and Sarabi knocks a beehive from a tree and triggers an elephant stampede. And Sarabi is knocked unconscious and almost trampled, and Mufasa pulls her to safety and covers her body with his own. Taka's already told Mufasa that Sarabi makes his heart go pitter-patter, and Mufasa has tried to help Taka connect with her, so he tells Sarabi that Taka was the one who saved her. When Sarabi figures out that it was Mufasa, the bond between them strengthens, while Taka's resentment and jealousy grows because Sarabi is royal. She embodies the wisdom, grace, and leadership of a queen, and Taka feels that their connection is just right. Sarabi moves with belonging, legitimacy, and unity. So when she chooses Mufasa, it heightens Taka's feelings of insecurity and being an outsider. She is everything he's never had. Sarabi reminds Taka that belonging is tied to status, recognition, and approval. And this is like a stab in his heart that Mufasa belongs and he doesn't. When Sarabi offers her affection, this time Mufasa accepts. And in accepting her, Mufasa steps into his power because now he has a sense of belonging by association. And they need a home to belong to. Now, Sarabi takes her home with her. She's landless and prideless, but she's not really homeless. But Mufasa is inspired to give all three of them a home. His purpose to find Malele is now much more meaningful. So, what does Taka do? How does he handle this? The way that most cowardly villains do, by joining up with the enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So Taka tells the white lions that he will lead them to Malele so that he can destroy hope for all. And that's what he does. Why? Because he sees himself as an outsider now, a reject from society. He yearns for a place where he's understood, and this is it. If you look around you, you will see that this isn't just a plot point, but a psychological reality. We all need to belong somewhere, and if we can't find it in our families, our church, our society, we're going to find it somewhere, and that might be somewhere outside of my morals and the law. If you've ever looked at the news headlines and said, what will make someone do that? Or if you've done something yourself and said that about you, this could be the answer. Did Mufasa and Sarabi reject Taka? No. The whole scenario only exists inside Taka's head, but the seeds of this were planted by his father, who let him know, you are the heir, and to be the heir, you have to do X, Y, and Z. And those conditions were not things that Taka could do. So in effect, they were saying, you're not good enough. And Taka's existence reinforced that he was not good enough because the standards were not in alignment with his strengths. So let me say this again in a different way. When the standards by which you measure a person isn't in alignment with their values or skills, they're going to fail. So if in your eyes, I'm only a worthy person if I can make a perfect pancake, do double axels, or have a perfect bikini body, I'm already a failure in your eyes. Can I learn how to make perfect pancakes? Probably. But on the day that I don't live up to that standard, I'm now a failure. And there are probably going to be a lot of those days. So that's a lot of pressure. What do you think that's going to do to my self-esteem? It's probably going to crush it, right? I'll probably live in a puddle of shame all day long. I'm 100% sure that Taka's father wanted the best for him. And he set him up for failure because we do what we know how to do. Obasi didn't have the skills to raise a healthy leader. So how could he raise a healthy leader? I tell my clients all the time, so it bears repeating. All parents jack up their kids because parents aren't perfect. Some mistakes are little ones, some mistakes are big ones, but once we become adults, it's time to adopt the no blame game and clean up whatever mess you were given because it's now your life. What it becomes is up to you. Taka didn't do that. He wallowed, he blamed, he complained, and joined the White Lions because that's how he chose to cope. Now he can be with other people who live in resentment and grievances rather than cooperation and reconciliation. So they all do arrive at Malele, and the White Lions are right behind them. Mufasa now knows that Taka led them there. The animals at Malele don't know the lions. They first start off saying, "This is not our fight. What does this have to do with us?" But this is Malele forever. It's an idea as much as a place, and this is a place of peace, harmony, and home. The animals get this, and they join in the fight for their freedom, community, and belonging. Mufasa ends up battling the white lion, and the white lion is winning. They fall into the water, which you remember that this is connected to the trauma of Mufasa's dad. And what happens next? Taka gets an attack of conscience and saves Mufasa again. Together, all the animals defeat the white lions, and peace and community and belonging returns to Malele. Mufasa is reunited with his mother, and he becomes the king of Malele. How? How does this happen when Mufasa had to be rescued by Taka 3 times? Shouldn't Taka finally get the recognition that he deserves and be king of Malele? Well, no, because a leader doesn't mean that you never have to ask for help. It doesn't mean that you have to be perfect or invincible. One of the most important things that you need is vulnerability, and that's the ability to ask for help and accept help when you need it. Vulnerability is a deep form of trust. Trust in yourself and the people you're surrounding yourself with. The fact that someone is willing to save you shows that there is a sense of mutual belonging, and leadership is reciprocal. There is the leader and those you lead. They support each other in different ways. It's an interdependent relationship, and that's something that Taka doesn't know anything about. This interdependence is the foundation of a strong community. Now, there are instances in history where a king is seen as a god. He's above everyone, and the rules don't apply to him, and that kind of thing. I did a video about the movie Wicked, and I talked about power and how it's relative and relational. Kings who rule by divine right are above everyone. True leadership is a relationship where you stand with the people, not above them. This is a relationship of wholeness, not separateness. The king is one of us. Got it? The king who stands alone loses support of the people, and that gives his leadership meaning. If there's no relationship between you and the people, who are you leading? So Mufasa brought danger to Malele, but he also saved Malele from that danger by getting them to take a stand for their land, each other, and their shared community values. He didn't save Malele, they did it together. And in support for Taka's role, Mufasa gave him a home too. He continued to have him as a brother, but refused to say his name, so Taka took on a new identity, a scar, to remind him of the trials they went through together. It seems like it's a pledge to have a new beginning, but if you've watched The Lion King, you know how that worked out. On the surface, Mufasa is a cute kid story with some lively music, but it actually runs pretty deep. To hear my top 10 takeaways on what Mufasa teaches us about community and healing. Number 1, belonging is a journey, not a goal to be reached. Like nature, it changes day to day based upon our choices and circumstances. We can strengthen or weaken it, so it's something to stay aware of. 2, belonging is relational. You can't have a connection if you're living a transactional life and attach conditions to your approval. You have to show up. You have to let others in. You have to engage. It doesn't happen any other way. 3, exclusion breeds trouble. Sometimes others exclude us, and sometimes we exclude ourselves. If your negative self-talk keeps you from engaging with vulnerability and truth, work on that. That's your work to do. If you do that, I think you'll find the barriers that keep you out will lessen or even disappear. We all need a place to belong. The reason why AA works so well for so many people is that it gives people unconditional acceptance. Gangs are successful for the same reason. If we can't find healthy places to belong, we will find unhealthy ones. 5, belonging creates collective strength. The animals were only able to save Malele because they worked together. There are things the collective can do that the individual can't, but we all need belonging to do big things. 6, belonging creates trust. If someone takes leadership by the threat of a bullet, this is a type of regime where the leader starts seeing enemies everywhere. There is no trust, and everyone suffers. No one can succeed because of the threat that someone else presents. This is what we see in Mufasa. Every time Mufasa did something good or nice or well, Taka's resentment grew. Every success presented a threat to Taka's self-esteem when it really had nothing to do with him. 7, leadership is mutual. The leader belongs to and serves the community and vice versa. If you have ever worked under a dictator boss or an incompetent boss, you know what it's like when this isn't the case. It isn't good for anyone. Morale's low, productivity is low, turnover is high. Good leadership is essential for every aspect of living. Choosing leaders based on birth, whose turn it is, what college you graduated from, or anything that is not based on merits and good fit is just not smart. It's too big a job to give to people who aren't leaders. 8, healing happens in connection. You might have missed this one because it was subtle. But when the guys meet Sarabi, she didn't trust them. She's standoffish. When Mufasa saves her, it creates trust and belonging. She was vulnerable alone. When she not only walks beside them, but mentally joins with them and puts her guard down, it starts to turn her isolation into safety and alliance. So loneliness becomes belonging. 9, division undermines healing. As powerful as healing can be for the whole, it doesn't take a lot to undermine it. There's a saying that one bad apple spoils a whole bunch, and you can't heal until that connection is restored. So allowing Scar to stay at Malele didn't do that. It's basically putting a Band-Aid on it and even the score. And 10, home is where belonging lives. Sarabi was able to carry her home with her because she felt a sense of belonging within her own skin. So Malele isn't just a place, it's a metaphor for that state of belonging where people feel safe and connected, like they matter. And that comes as much from you as from the people in the place. And this happens moment by moment. When I was little, I remember overhearing a conversation about someone who was desperate to be popular. The advice was typical. They were told that it's not about having a lot of friends, but having one good friend. I think that's sound advice too. Don't start out trying to belong to the world. Just one person. Find that one person who hears what you have to say, respects your feelings and your process, and build on that. One day it will become a feeling of belonging to a group of people, and then a community, then perhaps the world. You do belong to the universe, even if you don't know it yet. When you get there, you can never feel lonely. And you'll never feel like Scar because you know that you can't harm others without harming yourself. If you don't know where or how to start, check out my private community. We learn skills and sharpen our connection to others. We have activities that allow us to share ourselves and learn from others. We are all walking our own path to our true selves together. And I hope to see you there. And also right back here next week when we're going to talk about mental health in the movies. Thanks for being here. Ciao.